All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Heavy Rock Podcast. I'm your host Jeremy, alongside Chris and our special guest Randy Carter. Chris's big brother, which is funny because your nephew is like 3 years younger than you. But speaking of the Rams, as we're live, the Rams just killed the Bears. It was a pretty good game. Andy Dalton didn't look too bad. They used Fields a little weird though.
We were talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, they should have used Fields a little more if you're going to use him, not just red zone. That kind of didn't make sense to me. But
it's like he throws a touchdown. I know it was like one play, and
ran a touchdown in. He ran a touchdown in too.
He never sees it.
Yeah, his first run in the NFL was a touchdown.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
but so obviously I talked about this with River, but he's top 5 sales in jerseys. So they're gonna lose money if they don't start him. That kind of sucks, but at the same time he's better. I know he needs to learn skill and craft, but Andy Dalton's not really that leader. I think he's still a starter, but not for that team right now. What do you guys think?
Well,
go ahead, Chris,
first, brother. Now that you go first, brother, because you already know how I feel. We talked about this.
Well, I'll say, first of all, I think that he's number 5 in sales, but I still think he's like 3 spaces behind Tim Tebow, who isn't playing right now. So. But no, I think a lot of that comes from the fact that Chicago has a large fan base. It's the 3rd most populous city in America. So you got to back that. I don't think it's a credit to his play. I was just telling Chris earlier before we started that I just haven't been a big Justin Fields fan. I watched him last year. He got stammered against Indiana, who wasn't even I guess it was a top 15 team at the time.
Yeah.
But not a top 5 team. Definitely not an FBS team.
Yeah.
So the fact that they could control him, and those guys, most of which probably won't make it to the NFL, says a lot about me. Not that there's not potential and raw talent there, but I don't see the residuals coming at least immediately.
Yeah.
I think that offense is very gadgety. It's a lot like Andy Reid's offense, Sean Payton's offense. You got to have a lot of different moving parts. I'm not sure, and this is no indication of him personally, but just his skill set. You got to realize that he didn't start a lot of games year before last. They still had Haskins 3 years ago, so
Yeah.
he was coming in off of that. I'm not sure if he can run an offense that's that complex, at least for a while. Not that he's not capable, but at least for a while. I will say also that Ohio State is not known for bringing great quarterbacks to the NFL. I challenge you guys to bring one of them to me.
No, there isn't. But with that being said, the way he played in playoffs was really good. I think you're right. I've been saying this, and I'm a huge fan of him. For people who don't know, he has epilepsy, so do I. So I kind of resign with that.
The Broncos supposedly passed on him because of that reason.
I think that's why he dropped, because if he gets one concussion, he could be done for his whole football career. But he was supposed to be drafted 2nd, and then a kid from BYU, which we'll get to that later, is now the 2nd randomly. If it was Mac Jones or Justin Fields, and randomly it became Zach Wilson, which we'll see how that goes. But it's the Jets. I never watched BYU, so good luck to them. But I've been saying this. It's kind of like a low-tier Alex Smith, because Andy Dalton was good, and he's good enough to keep playing. And he needs that first year to sit out. There's no reason to pressure these, especially quarterbacks, these rookies to play week 1. You don't see running backs getting the whole.
Listen, I need him on my fantasy team.
Thing.
Okay.
Najee Harris. I bet that hurts though too, because he got 2 touchdowns, right?
I think he got 1, and he had like a couple good.
Oh yeah, you're right. That wasn't a touchdown. Jalen Ramsey killed that guy. I forgot.
It was
Goodwin, wasn't it? Marquise Goodwin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he obliterated that guy. But I think he needs to sit out the year, or do this little stuff and kind of it looked like what they're going to do is barely make him more and more often come in and stuff like that. I felt like they should have at least put him more in there because of the rush that Andy Dalton was getting to. One play that stands out though is when Andy Dalton evaded Aaron Donald. I know he still got sacked, but he wants that starting job, and he knows Yeah, this guy's probably better than me. But if I escape Aaron Donald once, I'll probably be good.
Well, one thing I think, if you guys noticed during the game, did you see the camaraderie between those two quarterbacks?
Yeah.
And a lot of times it seems it's like it's put on for television, whether it's the Favre Rodgers or that whole I don't want to pass the cup to the next guy attitude, or he's not as good as me. But even when they were shouting for Fields in the preseason, and he came out and said, "Hey, this is Dalton's team, guys." And so at the very least, you got to respect that. Now, I didn't really answer your question. I think he will play. I think he'll play before Week 6. I just think the Bears' schedule is going to demand it. Put it on. So make sure you play him by Week 6. I'm not sure if I play you again before then or what, but I think he'll play by Week 6. I don't know how good he'll do. I think that with him as a quarterback, you're definitely going to stack 8 in. Yeah. I don't know. I think you're going to make it. You're going to make him prove to you that he has not just the arm. We know he has the arm. We saw that in the championship game against Alabama. Mm-hmm. He's capable. But the accuracy sometimes is lacking. And I think if you want to get an indication of what he's going to look like against NFL talent, you can watch that Alabama game, because I think the entire Alabama defense is in the NFL right now. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much. They
Go ahead, Chris.
Every year. No, I think I said Week 2, honestly, he was going to start we did a preview podcast, brother, last week, and I think I said Week 2 that he would be starting. So we'll see. I mean, I don't see a reason, especially after watching this game. I know it was against the Rams, but if you're still trying to compete, you need to at least see if you can compete with the rookie. I mean, Andy Dalton was Andy Dalton. He was just the average. I mean, I don't know another way to put it tonight. I mean, there was nothing there that was like, oh my goodness, wow. I mean, besides David Montgomery, that whole entire offense was just, I don't know, it's lackluster. I didn't watch the whole game. I watched 3 quarters because then I went to a movie. So, but I mean, nothing changed. The score was the same. I think
it got worse.
Stafford threw another touchdown.
So wait a second. It was so good. You're telling me that you turned out Chicago for Shang-Chi?
No, we actually went and seen that new James Wan movie, Malignant.
He hasn't even watched Endgame yet. So.
Yes, I know. We caught up to Endgame. I mean, come on now. That was like 15 movies Jess was behind. So I mean, at least we're at Endgame.
No, it was basically that's all the highlights of the Bears was the first 3 quarters.
Yeah, that's why I thought.
Montgomery, I have him versus Justin Tucker. Obviously, I'm going to lose this matchup. Justin Tucker has to drop like 20.
Fantasy.
He has to drop 20 points though, and they have 4 30-year-old running backs, so maybe I'll be all right. But
Tyshawn Williams is like 24, man. Watch out for Tyshawn. He's starting round 12. I got him, I think.
Yeah, he's gonna tear his ACL.
Davius Murray.
Fields, I don't think. Yeah, he's good. I think he'll be most of the runs because he was just the backup with Kamara. But yeah, with Fields, I think it's not even going to be the coach's decision. I don't even think it's going to be Andy Dalton's play. I just think the organization's going to push it. Like I said, I think he needs this whole year to sit and to learn, but I think it's going to be forced, and we'll see with that. But anyways, let's get to some fantasy. You guys have been in your own league for a long time. I think, 6 years in, 5 years in. What is your favorite moments in the recent years that you guys can think of? I see your right hand, Chris. I see your right hand.
I see 2. What is
that? Yeah, I see your right hand, Chris. Teddy Two-Touch. Teddy Two-Touch.
Winning my seventh Super Bowl CFFL title 2 years ago to become the only 7-time champion in this league. The only one. So no matter what, unless you win this year, brother, anybody else could win. I'm still going to be the only 7-time champion, so.
Who
that's the highlight.
Who else is a 5-point or a 5 winner of the toilet bowl, though, huh? Probably a lot. Probably a lot.
You won 3, and you've been to 2 other ones.
No, I missed one completely.
You did? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was trash that year. I think my first year was toilet bowl with Tannehill and Jameis. I think those were my starters my first 3 years, I think. I could be wrong.
Yeah, with Miami. Tannehill in Miami.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my favorite moment, man, I got a lot. You're talking 25, 26 years of fantasy football. Probably probably, I don't know, man. I have so many championships. It's hard to pick one. It's like picking your favorite kid. I don't know. I have 6 because I thought it'd be nice. I let my little brother, push ahead a little bit. And,
You beat me in one of those too, so I could have 8. You could have 5. Imagine that. What if it flipped? What if it flipped?
Oh, you know what? There was that year. That's right. The Tebow controversy.
It was a controversy. Yeah.
What was that?
That's one of the reasons we went online too, because it was easier to do it that way.
Oh, really? What happened?
We had to call in our lineups. So it was before we were online. We had to call in our lineups, and apparently I called after the time slot or something like that. I don't know that.
That sounds like a Chris move.
But I mean, I'm not gonna not play Tebow though. I mean, come on. Like, at that time, it was when he was with Denver, and it was his year that he was. I mean, if you go back and look at the fantasy stats from that year, I mean, he was getting me 45 points a game. I mean, he was getting 60 yards rushing.
Yeah, but you know what they say, man. I think you were young then. You were still kind of green and behind the ears, and you know what they say about it when you assume things. You know what happens, right?
Yeah. That's okay. I want to get a shirt made with me just doing this and just send it to you, brother.
You just want to say I have one more than my brother.
You know what's weird, Chris? 10 extra fingers just showed up on your left hand because you were too.
I'm do it fast, look.
Teddy 2 touch. Teddy 2 touchdowns. All right. Just so you know.
2-yard average per throw.
Oh, that's what
who do I face next week? If it's you, I'm definitely getting Teddy 2 wins out.
It's I play I think Phil next week, and then I play brother in 2 weeks. I think it's one of those two. The first 3 weeks are division, so I know it's either you or Phil. So Jeremy, you would play whoever else is in your division, besides my mom. So Jess.
Yeah, she's gonna beat me. I mean, I'm praying for Justin Tucker.
Gosh.
Justin Tucker getting 20 isn't that bad, honestly, but for a kicker, that's very rare.
Well, hey, I need a Lamar Jackson to get 70. So what are the odds of that?
He's going to have to run it. So.
Yeah, he's got the runs. He's going to have the runs.
Well, they have no running back, so maybe he'll just hike it to himself and run a couple hundred yards.
Watch Tyson Williams.
No, you know what makes me really mad is Raheem Mostert. 2 plays for 20 yards, out for the game.
Hey, I actually started Trey Sermon when I got a notice at 10:45 that they benched him. He's a healthy inactive. What's that about? They're like, oh yeah, Mostert's going to have a great game. I'm like, I picked up Sermon like in the 6th round.
Well, that's what's crazy.
The other rookie running back had 100 yards and a touchdown. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to pick him up right now, but
not going to get him.
Yeah,
get him. I'm just putting it out there.
The backup for Mostert?
Yeah, it's another rookie, right? Williams?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Elijah Williams?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, so
I've been thinking, we're going to get off of NFL just a second. This just popped in my head, and I need to bring it up because I've been thinking about it lately. Devin Booker looks a lot like Kobe. There's a lot of players that love Kobe. But if you look at the big scheme of things, the way Kobe affected the game, would you call Steph Curry a good comparison for the nowadays NBA? Or is that too much for you? Or do you think he's too much of himself to be put in that position?
Are you talking to me?
Either one. It's an open conversation.
We'll let you go first, brother.
Okay, so the question is, do I think Steph Curry is more of a comparison to Kobe Bryant?
Yeah, because, Kobe is like Michael Jordan, and, there's other comparisons. But the way he plays...
I think the difference is with Kobe is he would definitely start and finish a Subway commercial. He would not let anybody take the limelight. But I think Kobe transcended basketball. I think to get in that elite status, it's not just about being good at a sport or even being a champion, but the way you carry yourself, the way you impact your community beyond your city. Personally, I watched Kobe for most of his career, and I appreciate more of his interviews and his TED Talk type conversations, even more than his game, because where he came from. And I think that's one thing that really we all kind of reevaluated or reanalyzed Kobe Bryant as a person after he passed away. And for me, in my chapter in my journey of life, what really hit me home was he was a girl dad, and I'm a girl dad. So I actually had sent a picture of him in a text about a week before he passed away to my nephew, who's a huge Kobe fan. he was sitting with Gia at a game, and he was explaining things to her, had his arm around her, and I felt that moment before anything happened, in terms of his passing. So when he passed, it hit me in a different way. It hit me. It wasn't just, I didn't grow up watching him wanting to be like him. I was a different generation, but I grew up respecting his game, and respecting his game again, not just on the court, but his game on life. I mean, he handled his money well. He definitely guarded his brand. He knew what he was capable of, and when he became more of a dad than an NBA Hall of Famer, he embraced that role with as much tenacity and ferocity as he did, one-on-one against Allen Iverson or Scottie Pippen in the post. He was serious about that game of life. So for me personally, to compare any player nowadays, I mean, we're living in an era when you got Kawhi backing up Drake in a music video. Like, what? I don't know what's going on out there right now. It's. I grew up in the Anthony Mason, Charles Oakley. If you come out the lane with all your teeth in your face, then you succeeded. You did a good thing. It's a different era. I think Steph is definitely a positive role model for what's out there. Actually, I would probably say he's even a different generation than Booker. He's probably 7-8 years ago. Booker's the next thing.
Yeah.
But I like Steph. I respect his game. I think he doesn't get enough credit. I really do, in terms of what he does on the court. He's a phenomenal talent. If you took away the fact that he is, in my opinion, the greatest three-point shooter in the history of the NBA, and I'll throw him up against the Reggie Millers and everyone else, we really don't talk about his passing ability. No. I mean, just what he's capable of on the court. He is the centerpiece. Even without KD, without Clay, I think he is the one that carries that team. He's the heartbeat of that team. So for the Golden State Warriors, for your 2009 to 2018, he's definitely the brand for the NBA, in my opinion. I think he's been the most consistent on and off the court, definitely with the same team, which is unusual in the NBA nowadays. So not taking anything away from him, but when you speak the name Kobe, I mean, you're on par. Like I said, you got a Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. Everybody else is a distant third. I'll even throw LeBron's name out there as a distant third in terms of the tenacity of the game.
That's where we're at. And sorry, Chris, but before you talk, the reason why I bring it up is the way he plays. I mean, you look at Kobe. He made not Paul who he was, but he made like a Lamar Odom like who he was, Derek Fisher. You see the same. I mean, Draymond Green is nobody without Steph. Honestly, Klay Thompson with that competition with Steph Curry, he's also not Klay Thompson. And then you look at they wouldn't have went to the finals or won that many games without Steph because Steph had that career year there. And then when he was hurt for a whole year, they were the worst team in the NBA. Period. And that's so nuts. And then this year, obviously the play-in or whatever, but they would have been an A seed no matter what. So that kind of throws it into perspective when I thought of that. And I'm like, he whenever it comes to basketball, he mimics Kobe a lot. How he's just that person on the team, But as a person, as a person, he's Kobe Bryant. I'd put him, if you put person and basketball together, he's way above even Michael Jordan. Not the basketball player, but as a person. Nobody looks at Kobe and says, he's whatever. People do that with Michael Jordan.
I'm going to disagree with that just because, I mean, we all have our history and not to disrespect Kobe at all, but I mean, he has a past just in a run-in with situations just like every star does. So I don't think you can say necessarily he's like hold him on a higher pedestal than anybody. That's why my ranking is of course Michael, Kobe, and then a far distant LeBron. It's just because, we all have our past. So I don't think there's not a giant gap there between Michael and Kobe, but there's not a, I don't think you can put Kobe higher than Michael.
No. Yeah. Especially as a basketball player, no one's
well, a basketball player, yes, but I'm saying even as a person, just because I think, I don't think we could do that either. I think you saw how much Michael even loves Kobe. I mean, the person who gave the presentations and the talk at his funeral was Michael Jordan. I mean, that's crazy to think about. So
yeah,
you don't see that a lot of times, with past generations' talent, like becoming so close to the next generation's talent. So
Well, see that's why I think Kobe's more though, at least inspiration because when you think of everyone in the game now, everyone is saying how big an inspiration Kobe is to them.
Oh
Even
yeah,
and that's the thing with
and
Michael. Michael really didn't do that. He was more competitive, but in the
yeah.
later years of him, he was not
But
there all the
it's
time.
also
That's
because
the only
Kobe's not
reason.
here with us anymore too, and I think that makes people realize, hey, I should give credit where it's due, because you don't know how much longer you have here to do it. So I think
Well, I
that's
think plus we can't. I'm sorry, Chris.
no, you're good, brother.
I was saying, I think plus that you got to realize that Kobe played 20 years in the NBA.
Hmm.
We never saw Kobe Bryant with the Washington Wizards jersey.
Yeah.
We never saw Kobe Bryant swinging a baseball bat for Double-A baseball. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, Kobe played, 20 years for the second largest market in America,
Hmm.
a very diverse market where his jerseys were sold across the planet. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
Michael was a forerunner. Michael did what no one else had done. He made wearing
Yeah,
tennis shoes cool. You know what
yeah.
I mean? He
He
crossed
paved
the
the way
brand.
for a lot of these. Yeah,
Yeah,
a lot of these
completely. He
great players.
created the brand. It didn't
That's
exist before him. He's the template. He's the model.
that's
But I
exactly
think
what
what
I'm
Kobe
saying.
did is, in terms of and basketball, yeah, I don't take anything away from Michael. Michael's number one. You'll hear me say that. But again, from my perspective, I was about Kobe's age. We're about the same age. So we literally had kids about the same age. And again, I go back to that, all I can do is speak from, within my own eyeballs and within my own skull, my own
Mm-hmm.
perspectives and reflections upon it. And I personally relate to sitting at an NBA game or sitting at a game and try to coach your daughter while the team's playing. Like I got mad respect for that. I do. I think that he was not Kobe Bryant Hall of Famer. He was not Kobe Bryant NBA champion. He was not Kobe Bryant, in parentheses, the best player ever. He was
Yeah.
dad. And I think what he did, even in terms of creating an entire basketball system, he wanted his daughter to have the best, competition. So he created a league, like literally. And he didn't only create it and throw money at it, but he coached. And I mean, I think that's for me personally, in terms of the impact. I don't see too many international interviews, on mainland China with Michael Jordan. Whereas I see Kobe Bryant literally, sitting in a chair in China and they're interviewing him, not about basketball or making a shot, but about life and not even just overcoming obstacles, but again, creating a brand and fulfilling that, for generations. So I think it's an argument of two different people, two different generations. But
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant definitely transcended just because of the length of his playing time. You're talking 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also it has to do with uh, what is out there. What is with Michael Jordan in the '90s is so limited to what he can do. Obviously, you could do sort of things like Kobe did, but when Kobe retired, he was done. When Michael Jordan retired, it was
He owned
just
a
it was
basketball
his third
team. Yeah.
retirement. It's not anything
He owned a
against.
basketball team.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
not
yeah,
anything
exactly.
against Michael as a person, but it's just whenever he
The
was
Mud
done with
Rats,
the
the
game,
Mud
he was
Dogs.
done. Yeah. So yeah.
I mean, he shot. But see, then I relate to him because the reason that he did that, right? He didn't just go play baseball because he wanted to try.
No, he did it for his dad. I mean, he
He
did
did
it
for
for
his
his
dad.
dad, and he did
I
it.
mean, his dad
He was
always wanted him to
he
play
was better.
baseball.
He was better at baseball
So
before
when
he
his-
was at
I mean,
basketball. He,
I mean, people don't give him credit for being. I mean, at least he was in AAA. I mean, it's not like he made the majors, but I mean, he had 40 steals that year. I mean, it's not like he wasn't doing something. Imagine a 6'6" guy out there, man. He could just like pop like one time, and he's already at the next base.
no, I think as a person he's more interesting, but as a role
I
as a
also
role.
think that we hold Kobe higher right now because he's not, like I said, he's no longer here with us.
Hmm.
I mean, it made people that you wouldn't think say good things about Kobe come out and be like, he was my idol. I never got to say it to him.
Well, yeah.
Or he's the greatest ever. I never said it to him because I'm not so because it makes you realize since he's no longer here with us, the that you got to say what you got to say when they're here. So that's why I think a lot of people almost, I don't like using this term because recency bias, because it's real. It happened. It's
Yeah.
last year. It's something. So I'm when other players pass away or other people in your life pass away, I think it's always that push for realization that that they're no longer here with us. So
Yeah, it's
we
timing
leave them
too.
higher.
It's the time that he passed too. He still had a young daughter, and
I would say
he wasn't in his
like what
70s or
I was
80s
talking
when
to
he passed.
Raji. No, I was talking to Raji. Like it's not like I said. It's not necessarily how he or when it or like if he was like in his 80s, like you said, brother. It's how it happened. It hit harder. I mean, no matter what, it was a tragedy. It's not like it's something that most people never will ever see happen to another player or another person in their life. So
Yeah, but the way I'm putting it, I'm not saying he's a better role model or a better basketball player. I'm just saying like the
Michael
inspiration.
Jordan's best, Jeremy. Shut
No.
up, okay.
Okay.
Gosh.
Hold on. There's that. You wanted that,
Don't
right?
make me.
Also,
Don't make me.
I got another one
Don't
back
make
there that I'm not gonna turn around the camera.
I got you.
but-
I got you. I
Hold
got
on,
you
hold
beat.
on,
But
hold on.
mine's upstairs.
I got like
You
four
know,
posters, Chris. Two of them ahead.
I got like 3,700 things up in my room of him.
I got 3,701.
There you go. There's your guys too.
Shoot.
Look
shoot,
behind you, Chris. I got an empty wall with one poster on it. What are you talking about? All right.
Hey, I got a poster of John Starks. All right, so say something.
John Stark's honestly one of my favorite '90s players to watch. He's crazy.
I still.
So I got another good comparison. Now this is switching sports. A good segue back to fantasy because my mind's crazy like that. But is Kawhi Leonard equal to Eli Manning? The reason why I say this, because this is I've been going through this so much. I randomly brought it up to a coworker, but you look at it. Eli Manning's the Brady stopper in the finals only, or in the Super Bowl. Sorry, Kawhi Leonard is the LeBron James stopper. Randomly, and you can throw in whenever he stopped the Warriors, but really they were hurt and damaged goods. But they're both awkward. They're both weird. Is Kawhi Leonard the Eli Manning of NBA?
I've never seen Eli Manning in a Drake video, so I mean, we're just gonna throw that out.
He probably is. Probably could be.
I was going to say, has Eli Manning ever smiled? I think that's the question I would have to ask. I've never seen Drake smile.
He probably does, but you can't notice it just because how weird he is.
I like Eli Manning because of course I love Peyton, but it's funny because if you watch some of their on that Peyton places, they had they would go and he would bring Eli with him to a couple different things, and like Eli would be eating or Eli would be interacting, and then it'd be annoying Peyton as the older brother, and he'd like smack him and stuff. So it made me think of me and you, brother. It was funny. But,
well, it's so weird. Really, I just wanted to talk about Eli because it's kind of weird that people are like mad that he wants to be or that he's a Hall of Famer, and I get it. But at the same time, you're looking at a division that was first of all, you had Andy Reid that's always been dominant in that division. You had Dallas Cowboys that were dominant until injury. That defense was crazy. You had Washington, which obviously Clinton Portis, and then after that was kind of not good. And then you had Eli Manning's Giants, which really never had a consistent target besides Jeremy Shockey. I know.
Hey, are you hating on Mexico, man?
Mexico.
Well, he was only there. What 2 years?
Tyree.
2 years. David Tyree was always 65 overall in Madden. Okay, he only made like 5 catches all year. One was on his head.
I think Eli's a Hall of Famer. I don't think there's the stats are there. You go look and he's like the league leader in like a couple different stats, or like NFL leader, which is crazy if you go look at it.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. This is a question I asked my son last night.
I know what you're gonna ask, brother.
Kirk Cousins wins the Super Bowl. Is he a Hall of Famer? His stats are there. He's a top 5 rated quarterback. He's top 5 in yards. He's top 5 in touchdowns to interception ratio, and now he has a Super Bowl championship. What's the argument against him?
I don't like him.
You just don't like him.
So I put that on the back of Dalvin Cook is better, and he's on the same team. So I'd put him as a first ballot, and then I'd put him maybe in the distant future. if he keeps up succeeding. That's a hard one though, because you look at him, you got to think of Kurt Warner. I mean, you got to compare that where Kurt Warner also was a backup, also had these outstanding careers, led from a team. So it really, so it really depends on the future.
If he wins one, then we can start talking. But I mean,
we're going to continue this conversation in February. Is that what you said?
They lost to the Bengals, so I mean, we'll talk.
Hey, the Bucs lost to a bunch of teams last year to start the season off.
I know, but it just reminded me of the same team from last year, brother. It just because we talked about this, they always came back. Every game last year, the Vikings.
You know what you didn't see last year? You didn't see Danielle Hunter on top of a quarterback.
True, but at the same time, did Kubiak retire or quit?
Yeah, he retired. His son, Clint Kubiak, actually is the offensive coordinator.
Okay, I was going to say because they need to get Justin Jefferson involved. I'm just going to throw it out there.
Well, they did. He had 5 or 6 targets. But he had a really good catch to stretch the field. He actually had a touchdown that they didn't call it. They said that he was down, and I can show you the film. He was not down. I think Cousins, he didn't overthrow. He overthrew him, but he actually hit him in his hands. And great receivers made great plays. It was between his palms, so it wasn't above his fingers.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they really did target him. I would say again, I'm not, as a Vikings fan, I'm not unhappy with the game today. Number one, they did what great teams do. Yeah, in case you didn't realize that.
Yeah, all the way around you can see it.
But they readjusted, man. They came in. They held them to 3 points in the second half, and they scored 20 or 18 points, I believe it was, or 17 points in the second half.
Yeah, I just think
did everything they could to do to
earlier.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. This was the preseason. Like I said, to me, this was the first time we saw all the defense on one field.
Who do they play next
week? Hey,
week?
one thing also, and I'll tell you one thing nobody's talking about, and you probably won't hear it because there was no reason because you didn't see it. They did not pass to Patrick Peterson's side of the field one time. So if $10 million buys you cutting the field in half, it's well worth it.
Yeah, and that defense is not to play with at all, especially in that division.
I didn't watch the game because I know you guys did because that's your team, but I just saw the highlights but the stats. So which Jamar Chase. So was the second-year cornerback guarding him? Is that who was guarding him?
Brashad Breeland was guarding.
Okay. Gotcha.
He did really. I know a lot of people were talking about how he couldn't see the ball or whatever, but apparently they asked him the difference, and all he did is say it was harder to see, and then he goes off and God dang cat, and then he goes off for 106 yards or something like that. So that's just a connection though with your quarterback. I mean, you know where the quarterback's landing it.
Who does Minnesota play next week, brother?
At Arizona.
Oh, that's a tough one. That's good though. Early in the season.
I like it, and I will say this. I was talking to Chris about this before you jumped on, Jeremy, but
yeah.
I just want to thank all of the Los Angeles Rams because as of right now, the Minnesota Vikings are number 1 in the division because our loss was against an AFC team.
That's crazy. You make the playoffs.
We didn't lose 38-3.
Well, what's funny? So that
that was stupid. I think Rodgers was throwing the game, he just didn't care.
That was bad though. That was bad. That defense was good. That offensive line did nothing. You look at how much they ran the ball. It was garbage. The whole team was garbage. It wasn't. Aaron Rodgers was garbage. Everyone. Devontae Adams was garbage.
Detroit looked better. Detroit looked like the second best team in the division.
We'll see next week. They play each other next week.
That's versus a bad San Francisco 49er defense though. Nick Bosa's their best player.
They were up by 30, and they put in the second string, and they came back. But still, they were running. The running defense was not there.
Don't hype up Detroit.
Come on, they scored 30-something points though. That's 30-something more than Green Bay and 20-something more than Chicago.
So. I think the Lions actually face Green Bay next week too.
Next week.
Yeah. So.
Yep.
Yeah, I picked Green Bay to win both weeks. So.
Yeah, you'll probably switch it. You'll be able to switch it before game.
Aaron Rodgers played. I was telling brother before you got on, Jeremy. I was like, I think Aaron Rodgers was just just who cares? I don't think he cared today, and I feel like any quarterback could have done better out there if they actually tried. So that's why I don't think he was actually trying. I think he was actually just throwing the game for them.
We'll see because great players don't make the same mistake twice. So we'll see next week how they play because that was garbage time. But with you talking about Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins, that connection that people were saying Kirk was off, but went through the hands. The thing that really drove me nuts is I saw it live whenever the Cowboys. First of all, Dak Prescott, I'm sorry because that was a phenomenal performance, but that team just the play calling was stupid. It was like all goes the first quarter, and they got probably 3 points out of the first quarter.
Well, they missed 2 field goals and an extra point.
Yeah, but they're just doing all goes. It was, and he goes, our wide receivers are better than your cornerback, so all he would do is do goes all the time. It was stupid. They did not play good.
They didn't even try to run.
No.
I know that was the number one defense or run defense, but you got to run the ball more than 7 times.
But what's funny is whenever their key cornerbacks got hurt, they started running outs and stupid stuff. But anyway, CD Lamb, that catch that he had that turned into an interception, that was the best throw I've seen on a quarterback. And obviously, I'm a Mahomes Chiefs fan, but that quarterback was on the dot perfectly. Yeah. He perfectly put that in.
Dak's awesome, man. Dak looked great. I mean, there was an underthrow to CD Lamb in the first quarter, and then another throw I think in the second quarter, brother. But besides that, I mean, everything was there.
Yeah. He was like, what, 74% completion? What was it?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it was like.
Well, didn't he throw upwards of 50 times?
Yeah.
Yeah.
40, it was like 42 out of 56 or something like that. Something crazy like that.
Wow.
Yeah. But
I'll tell you a throw that I really appreciated today.
42 of 58.
Talking about pretty throws is I think Baker Mayfield had one of the best throws I've seen, at least in this short NFL season so far. Mm-hmm. And it was the over the shoulder. I think it was Joku.
Yeah. Yep.
It was a pretty throw. I mean, honestly, I watched that team, and I think the defense is set up a lot like Tampa Bay's. That's why I actually picked Cleveland to win. But as I watch them, they're going to live and die on Mayfield's arm. That's the end of the day. No matter how good that running game is, they're solid. They got a two-headed monster. That defense is definitely top 5. Mm-hmm. But they're going to live and die with Baker Mayfield's arm.
Yeah, I can't believe they lost that game.
Or I should say maybe his head, because I think he got a little frazzled.
So the thing about that is it's kind of like a Brady-esque thing. You can't let them catch fire. You can't let the Chiefs catch fire, and that defense did. The secondary is not communicating yet because those 2 pickups were great. Those 2 pickups are going to succeed, but the first game of the week against a Tyreek Hill, against a Kelsey, you can't do that. If we're in our bread and butter and we're doing what we want to do, it's done. Especially when you let us score in the second half and just no matter what you're doing, it's not going to work because then you're comparing yourself to Mahomes and you can't.
I would
compare
think that
Baker
they would have
to
learned
Mahomes.
last year. I don't get this. So use the running game to get up by 20 points, 18 points, whatever it was. Then stop running the ball.
Yeah.
In the second half, when you're up by that much points, I'm not saying you got to run every time, but it's like you can't just go out 3 and out consistently, especially against teams like that. I mean, top 5 teams, you can't do that. Yeah. It's just the coaching. It's the same as last year in the playoffs. With the Chiefs, they came back every single game. They were down by 2 touchdowns in almost every single game.
Yeah,
it was like. Why?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, though, the Chiefs got a tough schedule. I think they got Baltimore next week, and I'm giving that to the Chiefs because Baltimore, their running game is on life support. Yeah. But I think the Chiefs they need to be aware because no one's talking about that second LA team out there, and they're under the radar. They're a dark horse. They're winning games. 17-14 or 21-17. They have a brand new offensive staff that came in, and young quarterback Justin Herbert did not miss a beat today.
Everyone loves Staley.
You're nervous though when you come in with a different offensive coordinator and a different offensive staff. You don't know how you're going to be. But he did not miss a beat. Still threw for over 325 yards. They should have beat Kansas City last year in Arrowhead, if you guys remember that game.
Yeah.
And I think they're a better team this year. I think they're a better team. I think they got a more solid staff. I think with the whole the Gordon debacle's out of the way. Eckler is the man. I think if Keenan can stay healthy, I could see them coming in, especially I haven't looked at the schedule, I don't have it memorized, but especially if there's an opponent that the Chiefs need to look at a little bit more before or after that game. It could be an easy trap game.
Yeah. And you actually mentioned, so I'm a low-key Chargers fan. I grew up loving LaDainian Tomlinson. You can't not love him. He's kind of like, first of all, he's Christian. He don't say nothing. He runs to the ball. He does his job. He doesn't do any crazy thing on media. So there's like no way a person can actually hate this, especially when Philip Rivers is his quarterback. Like you can't hate him when Philip Rivers is your quarterback. You're kind of just like,
I don't like him.
I'm on the team. But anyways,
I don't like him because he had like 300 yards.
2,000 yards against the Broncos.
Dude, he played with the Jets with Tim Tebow, dude. What are you talking about?
Tim Tebow played with the Jets.
Yeah, they were both backups. But anyways, with that being said, Keenan Allen is somebody that might not make the Hall of Fame. That's had a Hall of Fame career there. Just had a bad year. I mean, if you talk to any cornerback in the league, they mention how good his route running is, and it's been consistent. He's one of the people that is consistently killing people on the way he runs routes. One of the best route runners in the game is what everyone says about him. But yeah, they excite me a lot. I'm still not on the Eckler train yet. He needs to stay healthy for a whole year for me to see all of them without Melvin. Because Melvin went off for almost 10 yards a carry, so I'm still kind of, and then
John, had a good day.
Yeah, and then Herbert just needs more under his belt. I don't think this is the year he stands out too well, just because that rookie season was so good. But yeah, I'm definitely loving them. The Raiders, a lot of people overhype, but their offensive line's garbage. I definitely think they're the worst team in the AFC West. I just know them. I mean, they begged Khalil Mack to come back. I mean, I don't know what kind of team does that, but because they kicked Gruden kicked him out because he was asking for too much money, and then they
got rid of Amari Cooper and Khalil Mack. I mean, how can you expect to be good when you're getting rid of two All-Pro players?
And then Nelson Aguilar is finally a good player, and then you're just like, whatever, give him to the Patriots.
Let him go to the Patriots, and he had a 50-yard or not 50.
Yeah, now you have Henry Ruggs, which you have to hit in the slant, or else you can't. So we'll see how they play tomorrow.
We'll see tomorrow night. Yeah.
I don't believe in Derek Carr at all. I think he's a coward when it comes to throwing it. I don't. He's skittish, and he can't take control over the game. If he's versing another quarterback, he's not going to win that battle.
Yeah, I would say like ever since he broke his leg or something, his second year or something like that.
Well, it's not even that. It's
he was on pace for like 4,500 yards and 30 touchdowns.
Yeah, they were number one in the division. They were number one in the division.
They made the playoff.
That kind of happens a lot. A lot of times when players get hurt, it's more mental than it is physical. Yeah. They might have all their physical tools back, but their mind, just never gets back.
Well, and if you're going to talk about the Hall of Fame in terms of Keenan Allen, then I don't know. I think the Hall of Fame, I'm not going to talk about the NBA because, I mean, if you average 12 points a game, you get in the Hall of Fame in the NBA. But but the NFL, I think it used to be a little harder to get in. If Keenan Allen's in there, then my next question is, okay, does Evans go in from Tampa Bay?
I think Evans does 100%.
Because here's my thing. I know this. If someone said, name something you believe that's very unpopular, I don't believe Calvin Johnson deserves to be in the NFL Hall of Fame. I don't. I think he didn't play long enough. I think he was a fantastic, freakish player that did well on a bad team. And if that's the case, there's a whole lot of really good players on bad teams that you don't get to see them display their talent because they don't have a big market and a big TV contract.
I think that's how it was with Mike Evans for the first part of his career. I mean, before Brady got there last year, I mean, people don't throw him up there as top receivers, but no other receiver
the stats are there.
1,000 yards every season he's played. I think one year he had 1,008, but still, no other receiver has done that.
Yeah, and
so when you get into the conversation of 1,000 yards, like that's the old litmus, that's the old measuring stick when there was 14 games in a season. I mean, what's the math? You have 16 games, 17 now. So to get 1,000 yards, you got to average 54 yards a game, who doesn't average 54 yards a game?
It was 70 or something like that. But at the same time, I mean,
But would you
Yeah,
call
I
them
can
Hall
bring
of Famers? I mean, they can be all-star or
I would
Pro
say,
Bowlers,
I would
but
say
the best of the
not
best in the
yet.
history
I would
of
say
the
Mike
NFL?
Evans, not yet. But if he gets to 10K yards with the Super Bowl, I mean that's kind of
Yeah, I
consistency.
wouldn't argue that. I wouldn't argue
I mean,
that.
even if you don't think 1,000 yards is the the mark, he's still the only one, like only ever. So you're talking about, I don't know what, 150 around there Hall of Fame wide receivers, maybe 100 Hall of Fame wide receivers, something like that, to do it. So I mean, I would say if he gets to 10K, which I think he needs like 2,500, so I would assume he's going to get there. I mean, here I can look it up, but it's something. He only needs 1,710.
You just became
So
Seamus. You just became Seamus right there. I
I
don't know
know,
what
'cause-
screen you just. Your face is. Your face is real bright right now, but
For some
sorry. Go
reason, the
ahead.
Discord
Hey, let me
is
throw
not
this
big-
name in the hat then real quick for you guys and talk amongst yourselves. Anquan Bolden, Hall of Famer or no?
Yeah. No slot is ever going to be as demanding and better than him. The way he played I mean, you think of the teams that he was on. He actually helped them go to the Super Bowl. I mean, you Ravens. He went to the Super Bowl with them. They wouldn't have went there without him. Not saying
Cardinals?
he wasn't and he wasn't the key pieces. But you can't have a key top wide receiver without that slot, without that extra. So,
I would
Now,
say
wasn't he the number one when they drafted Larry Fitzgerald? I thought he was the number one.
yeah, the year after they drafted Larry. I would say that that if I got given Mike Evans at the end of his career and Anquan's not already in there, I think Mike Evans would go first because he has a championship and Anquan's already done. But with almost 1,400 receiving yards, I mean, that's.
I'm looking at Anquan's stats.
Isn't he-
1,076 receptions, 13,779 yards, 82 touchdowns.
yeah.
Mhm.
And he's like the Frank Gore of
Yeah.
wide receivers.
Hey,
really.
we're not going to talk about Frank Gore. Chris.
I know. I you know why I brought it up. You know why I brought it up.
There's nothing you can say. It doesn't matter if he's averaged 900 his whole career. He played for so long that he did it. He did it for so long. There's nothing you can say now.
This was a shouting match
Nothing.
for viewers. This was a shouting match for probably an hour last year. Or was it 2 years ago? It was 2 years.
2 years ago.
2 years
Yeah,
ago.
2 years ago.
Not stop.
Yeah, it was a shouting match for an hour.
Everyone was on my side except for brother, which that's usually how it is.
Yeah.
But sometimes I just say the opposite side just so we can.
Man, that's funny. So with this week, I'm glad we're talking extra sports because it's so not robotic, but we have a schedule on our sports time. So I'm glad we're kind of getting our opinions more out. But I'm very happy and excited for Devontae Smith. I hate Alabama, and that's one player I loved watching last year.
Man.
And he looked so good today. And Jalen Hurts, you saw why I picked up Quez Watkins. He
had like
did
5
his thing.
yeah.
And then Rager's will get there, but he's definitely the third man out. But him, Jerry Jeudy, I knew he was going to have a year like this because he's, rookies have that type of year. But I'm excited for him. I hate the Broncos, so I can't.
Me and my brother talked about it, because he just got hurt, so it sucks. But I think Broncos wide receiver core is if we were like on this offense with like I said, Peyton Manning, oh wow, Marvin Harrison went down, like oh my goodness, what can happen? But with this offense we have now, I mean, it's gonna be it could be a 4-string wide receiver. He's throwing 7 yards.
Teddy 2-yard average.
Yeah. Hey, two tugs.
It works.
All right,
I can't
Teddy two
complain.
tugs.
I'm a Gerlach guy because I want someone that can take me here, not someone that's already down here. But I mean, if that's what they want, this coach is a numbskull anyway. So it's been.
This will help Drew
Now, I'll tell you
Lock
what,
and
Jeremy, I'm
tighten
going
it.
to pull you. I'm going to pull you left. You said you hate Alabama. Let me ask you this question because I don't know you guys college football fans or what. But do you hate Alabama or do you hate the system that they've manipulated and mastered?
No, so I hate Alabama because I was the birth of Alabama. Colt McCoy, I'm a Texas fan. Colt McCoy got hurt,
Well, get ready to take a loss every year in the
Yeah,
SEC.
yeah. Well, yeah. That's so. Yeah, I can't wait for that. Arkansas is a really good unranked team. We got obliterated though. I didn't expect us to be obliterated, but anyways. So the quick story for you, and I probably said this before, but so Colt McCoy, obviously, a Heisman runner-up, one of the best or Texas players of all time. At least record-wise, he's number one. He gets hurt first. I forgot who the defensive tackle was. Chris, you might know off the top of your head. The first drive, we weren't doing good. Third down is like 3rd and 15 something off a sack. He gets hit on his shoulder. He can't use his shoulder anymore. His shoulder won't move. It was like nerve damage, something, and he had to get out. Garrett Gilbert, which is now in the NFL, and I think he just got cut though. Took over and just gave the ball away. I mean, the backfield was Mark Ingram, Trent Richardson, before his hairline went all the way back, before he was unrelevant. But and then you just had that amazing defense they had. We were like the birth of Alabama, and ever since then they've been on this terror that they've been on, and Texas has been the other way. So it's kind of like
Marcel Darius.
Huh?
Marcel Darius was the defensive tackle for Alabama.
They had a key one though. They had a key.
That's who hurt him. I'm saying.
Oh, okay. They had a key one though that was coming in putting pressure on two. They doubled him, and then the other guy.
Darius actually had a good career, but finish. I just wanted to.
But no, you're fine. You're correct, man. You're good. I asked for that. But yeah, Colt McCoy wasn't able to do combine. Wasn't able to do nothing right after that game. So Alabama ruined my Texas career. But I'm still a fan because they're good at every sport. But I think the SEC move is actually good. Sarkisian obviously needs help. They have a good quarterback.
Why do you think it's good? What makes it good?
So, with that being said, the Big 12 and the scouting, it will be better because with the Big 12, you only have two great teams. I mean, you have these little teams that are good too, but normally it is the Oklahoma, and then it's a returning two. It's not always Texas, obviously, but it's always a returning team that's number two in Oklahoma. So I think Oklahoma and Texas is good pairing. I think Oklahoma is good for it. With Texas, the Red River Showdown is a thing, and Arkansas is already in the SEC, so that's a rivalry. As we just saw it, everyone had beat Texas because that's still a rivalry to everybody there. I think it's good for them. I think it's good for Sark as a coach. I think he needs to be facing better players for him to be better. Are we going to take losses? Yes. But Charlie Strong did very bad. Todd Herman, he's not even in. Todd Herman, he's with like the Eagles or something as like a scouter. So like I think this is finally our first official head coach, and also Texas actually is trying to win. I mean they're kicking people out if they see them declining. Todd, the biggest thing with him is never scouted people out of Texas. And that's the big thing Shark is trying to do. So I think it is good because the SEC is where Texas is. That's where Texas players are going. So if Shark goes in there and says, hey, you might not even be playing.
Yeah,
if you want championships,
it's
sure.
a money move. Honestly, is what it is.
Yeah, I get that it's a money move, and they're gonna take at least 4 losses a year. Oklahoma's gonna take at least 2 or 3. I mean, and that's kind of comes. So you're gonna become. Instead of
Alabama,
a
that's
championship,
pretty much the whole SEC. Like they always,
Well, I mean, you got solid blue collar teams. You got Auburn, LSU has up and down. Florida's consistently good. Texas A&M in their backyard is consistently good. Then you got up and comers. Talk about Ole Miss and a Heisman candidate in the backfield.
Yeah,
it was Ole Miss that just destroyed Louisville, right? Isn't anyone thinking of Ole Miss? Yeah. So you got a lot of there at SEC. The issue I see though is. It is kind of a big money move, and they went from being a big fish in a small pond to being a small fish in a big pond.
Yeah.
And I'll give you this stat, and I don't want to burst your bubble or anything.
No, you're fine. I'm
a Notre Dame fan, So independent, we'll play whoever, whenever, wherever, however. We don't. So whatever. For fun, we decided to win the ACC last year.
Yeah.
But no, I'll give you this stat: the top 5 players in the state of California. No, the top 4 players. No, top 5 players. The top 2 of them play for Clemson. 3 of them play for Alabama.
Yeah.
That's the top 5 players in the state of California. That would have never happened 20 years ago. Your UCLA's, your USC's, your Stanfords were really good, 15, 20 years ago. So it's the issue I have with Texas and Oklahoma moving is they're doing what Premier Soccer wanted to do. They're making a master group. Yeah. They're trying to put everybody, and that's great, but that doesn't help anyone but the rich get richer. So I still see the Alabamas monopolizing on the talent because they're still in that. And I think until, you can have a few breakaway, like you can have your Jeff Burrow year where no one expects. Because Jeff Burrow was the 3rd round pick before that year he won the championship.
Joe Burrow.
I said Jeff Burrow. I'm sorry, Joe Burrow. Yeah. So he was the 3rd round pick before he won the championship.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think there's a lot there. I think there's a lot there that. When they do switch over, I'm rooting for the Oklahomas and the Texas. I want them to shake up the SEC. I just think there's got to be a lot of, I'm a regulation guy. I would love to say you got to have a certain number of stars in your own state. You got to have a certain number of stars in the surrounding states. Because I'm not mad at Saban for what he's done. He's mastered it. He's manipulated it for the benefit of his team, and he's doing a great job. But I don't think it's good for college football.
No, and the thing with me is I think it's too quick. So the thing is they were going to go independent, but with that being said, they were going to they just need to win Texas scouting, and that's his main goal. And whenever they heard Oklahoma wanting, I think it was a combined thing, like we have to go too, just because this is a rivalry. So I think Oklahoma, like I said, is probably ready.
Big 12's already moved on. Man.
Yeah, exactly. And they're getting already. 4 teams for 2.
They're getting good teams.
And technically, Missouri's already coming back.
Weird because KU's
are you ready for that KU Cincinnati rivalry game?
Cincinnati's a good football team, though. I was looking at them. That's the only team I don't. We know BYU's.
They were undefeated until they lost to Georgia in the bowl last year.
They're good.
BYU's always consistent at football, and they're really good at basketball. Usually top 15, top 20, and then
Iowa State, BYU. I can't wait till that game.
UCF.
Houston, K-State.
Oh Lord.
But Houston makes more sense though because it's Texas, so we're still gonna have a Texas team. But yeah. I mean, that's all good basketball teams too. So that's all I care about, really. So.
Yeah.
Cincinnati's defensive coordinator actually is at Notre Dame now.
Really?
Yeah, he was actually scheduled for a couple of head coaching jobs, but he took the DC position at Notre Dame. He was offered the DC spot in LSU also, but he took it. And if you get a chance, I'm not sure if you follow Notre Dame or college football that deep, but watch the highlights of this last week's game. He's an old school. He throws everybody at the quarterback, and it's live or die. He mans up, they ISO the corners, and I love the way he plays. I don't mind giving up 30 points and a bend and not break because he's hurting the quarterback.
Yeah, and that's a lot of good defenses in college do is they send everybody because these offensive lines aren't all high star recruits. But yeah, college I'm getting into again. Chris has a team. I gave him a team since Kansas sucks. Michigan.
Okay.
So apparently Raji's favorite team is Michigan State, correct?
Yeah.
He was talking about the running back that went off and then now is out for the season. So I'm like, well, Michigan State that's the second best or had the best running back in week 1. So now that's your favorite team.
That game was on primetime television. I was at Jess's parents.
I watched the game.
Ibrahim.
I watched the game too, though.
He was really good. Yeah.
All right.
You know who graduated from Michigan State, Chris? Kirk Cousins.
Draymond Green.
That's 2 good people that you love. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to have an ad. We're running out of a little time, but we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in 1 second. All I have to do is save the audio. I'm just keeping this live for the video, so it's all right. All right, we're back. But what other team, Chris? You have to watch it. All right, you got to watch at least one team. Just pick one. Pick Alabama. Go ahead.
Baylor Bears, Chris. Baylor. No, you know what? You're a Big 12 guy.
K-State.
Cincinnati.
There you go. There you go. K-State.
I always watch K-State because of Papa. But
there you go.
Watch K-State. There you go.
Like you said,
they
bro,
lit up Stanford last week.
It's not super fun to watch college football at a big level, like unless you're watching, have a specific team that's really good. Because, like you said, bro, like Alabama and teams like that, like look at they have 3,700 NFL players. You know what I'm saying? Like
it's like baseball. It's like baseball. I mean,
yeah, the Yankees. I mean, compared to like the situations like that, but.
So Randy, the reason why I am a Texas fan is because of my first college football I ever watched was Vince Young in the Rose Bowl. So that's why I was a fan. So I love Reggie Bush. I never liked Matt Leinart because he stayed for that one more year, and then that killed his career.
About Mike Williams.
Yeah, I mean, and you also after that, Derek Johnson. A lot of Chiefs players were Texas players around the 2005 era, 2007. So Earl Campbell was a Texan. So I love the history. So I'm like a pro football player or team fan. Like I don't bandwagon. So Texas has been my team even through the Case McCoys, the David Ashes, the Shane Buechels, which.
Hey, Chris Sims had a good career there, man.
Yeah, he did, but he's a goofy goober. That's another thing about which I'm talking about as pops, but the Giants always have the weirdest looking quarterbacks. Have you noticed that? Like you got Phil, you got which that's why probably what Kurt Warner set the bench probably. You got Eli Manning, and then now you got Daniel Jones. So they always have a weird looking quarterback. I feel like, but.
Jeff Hostetler.
Yeah. I don't even know who he looks like, but his name is crazy. But with that, we were talking about wide receivers earlier. Chris, I'm going to debate with you on Demaryius Thomas. Do you think he is a Hall of Famer? Do you think he's a Denver elite?
Oh yeah, 100% in Denver. I mean, they put less players. All teams do put less players. You win a championship with a team, you're pretty much, destined to be in the Hall of Fame of that team. I mean, it's just how it is. But NFL, no, I don't think he broke 10,000. I'm pretty sure he's a little short.
Didn't he retired early though, didn't he? 11 seasons.
So he had ankle problems his whole career or something like that. It was ankle problems. And there at the last 2 years of the Broncos, like he was still good, but you could see him start declining. So I knew it was going to be it for him. But at the same time, he's put up some crazy stats. But he won't be in the Hall of Famer. No, I don't think so. I think he has like 9,500 receiving yards, something like that, and of course a championship. But he'll be a Bronco Hall of Fame. I mean that's him, and of course Peyton's already there, but like. A lot of the players on that team, when Vaughn retires, he's going to make the Hall of Fame. So that's the next Bronco Hall of Famer probably.
Will no Sean Marino make the Broncos Hall of Fame, Chris?
Shut up, brother.
For his tears.
Robert Smith,
iconic tears.
Monty Ball.
I have some fun. Before we get off of here, and thank you so much. You're welcome anytime.
I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, I want to talk some quarterback roulette. All of our teams have had some roulette in the past 15, 20 years. So I'm gonna do a little roulette, and this will be fun, Chris. I think you'll enjoy this one. All right.
As long as I don't have to impersonate them or sing, I'll be good.
All right. Case Keenum, Matt Castle, or Teddy Bridgewater. Who was a better starter for those teams?
Brother's gonna say Case Keenum because they're the right behind him.
And I'm not talking about if they had. You have to remember their targets were better. Obviously, Case Keenum had targets better.
Teddy Bridgewater now with the Broncos is better than anything that Case Keenum ever did with the Broncos.
Teddy Bridgewater could not make the Minneapolis Miracle throw.
What about Matt Castle? Though?
Agreed.
What? So Matt Castle's better is what you guys are saying?
Matt Castle had a better statistical season, one season with the Chiefs It was all pro or Pro
Pro
Bowl.
Bowl. Pro Bowl.
Yeah. Than those guys ever had.
Won the division. He won the division that year.
Yeah. So if you're basing off of that one season, but I still think Case Keenum's miracle, even though his season technically stat-wise wasn't the amazing, I still think that's better.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say
I wouldn't wipe my
game
butt
manager, and I don't mean that in a derogatory sense, like a game manager, but like someone who can read the field. I would go with Bridgewater. In a moment, in a flash, you got to go with Case Keenum. You can't unlive that moment, the Minneapolis Miracle. I think Matt Castle, a lot of Matt Castle, his best years were in great systems. He was a system guy. He came from Belichick when Brady went down that one year in a system that was, it was built around the quarterback, and he stepped right into it underneath Brady's tutelage. When he went to Kansas City, was that Vermeil's year? Was that Dick Vermeil? I can't remember.
No. Todd Staley. Todd Haley.
Okay.
Todd Haley.
Todd Haley, yeah. So he came in and he tried to, initially he had it, but then when he saw Haley, because again, Haley's another one of those guys I spoke of earlier that spans a very complex offense. He couldn't understand it, and it showed his weakness. So I think the novelty of Matt Castle wore off. He was more of a systems guy, so I wouldn't even put him in the same conversation. To be able to do what Keenum did in January of 2018, or to be able to sustain the career that Bridgewater's done.
So I forgot you were there, and I was so mad. Like, I was so mad, and my mom was like, "But brother's having a good time." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll cheer up."
You rooting for the Saints?
Chris, you'll let
that was the year, brother. We really.
Hey, let me tell you about the Saints, okay?
I don't need to hear about the 2007.
We're gonna put it on the record. No. This is the 2018 New Orleans Saints. This is Lattimore, the guy who danced underneath Stephon Diggs, who just signed a 5-year, $96 million contract. In between plays, the camera didn't show it. I had 6th row in the corner of the end zone that year. I was on the side where Stephon Diggs caught that ball. In between plays, the defensive backfield, Eli Apple, all those, they're Ohio State bags. They all came to the corner and were flipping off the fans after every great play. So when we won that game, the only ones to come out, they had 2 offensive linemen to block the extra point because they had to come back out. The offensive linemen had their pads over their shoulder. They were like, they came back. The punter came out and lined up as a defensive lineman. They had like 6 guys come out, right? So those are the New Orleans Saints. Drew Brees was a different cut. So I have no respect for those New Orleans Saints.
I mean, I don't care.
But hold on a second. Let me tell you about the Minnesota Nice. So what Minnesota did after that, because the punter came out and lined up as a nose tackle to block an extra point. So they went on GoFundMe and raised over $100,000 for the punters charity in New Orleans. So that's the kind of character where you don't see the Marshawn Lattimores and all that unnecessary nonsense that goes on. So every game I get to watch Marshawn Lattimore lose, I cheer. I get happy because
they destroyed them today.
And I was actually cheering for them. You're right. You're right. Anytime it's against a division opponent, you're right. I digress.
I mean, I've never seen. Not to interrupt you, Jeremy, but
no, you're fine.
Winston had 5 touchdowns today and had 130 yards or something like that.
Yeah, the lowest amount of yards for any 5-touchdown game in the history of the NFL.
Got the ball in the red zone 3 times. I mean,
it's also the defense
right away
destroyed the Packers, and Kamara was doing his thing, so there's no reason to really throw it. So our next comparison, Teddy of old, Teddy 2 wins. No, Teddy of old with Vikings, Drew Lock.
Okay.
I know you don't like it. Or don't give me that look. or Tyler Thigpen.
Drew Lock's in his 3rd year. Should be starting with the Broncos. I have no idea why Teddy Bridgewater.
Was he as dynamic as Tyler
I give Teddy
Thigpen?
Bridgewater one play. There was one play today that was wow. I was like, heck yeah, man, that was a great play. So when he's almost getting sacked and he throws it sidearm, kind of like Mahomes style, to Albert O, and he gets a touchdown. But like besides that, it was literally like I could do that. Pay me millions of dollars to go throw 4 yards. I could throw 4 yards all day. It's not going to work. We're playing the 3 worst teams in the league these first 3 weeks. It's not going. We might go 3-0, but after that, it's not going to work.
All right, yeah, but Teddy of old, Drew Lock or Tyler Thigpen.
Tyler Thigpen sucks, man.
But he
We're not gonna
started.
talk about that.
But he was good for at least a couple games. Okay.
I'll let brother talk about Bridgewater, but I think he could have been really good for Minnesota if he didn't get hurt. Like, could have been probably.
I'll
better
tell you
than
what.
him.
I was actually one thing people don't talk. I think Teddy Bridgewater's a great guy. He's a great story. We all saw the damage to his knee. We all cheered him on. If you know his story, I encourage you to read it. Look him up. From a lower class neighborhood, went to college. I want to say single mom. Bought his mom a house. It's a real great story. It's a TV movie, right? I was actually at the 2016 NFC divisional playoff game.
When they were
They
playing
won the
it here.
division,
They were playing here.
and they were playing a divisional. The Vikings were playing against Seattle, and they lost the game. I want to say it was 13-10 or 10-7. I know they lost it because Blair Walsh went wide left. So that was a Teddy Bridgewater in his prime game, and he scored 10 points in the playoffs. So everyone was mad at Blair Walsh, and he should have made. And yes, he should have made it. It was a makeable. It was a 13. So maybe it was a 30-yard field goal or 27-yard field goal.
Yeah.
Makeable for any professional NFL kicker should be. But when your first round draft pick can't move the ball to get you more than 10 or 13 points, that's Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater is the epitome of a game manager. He won't kill you. But he won't be the guy that wins the game either.
That was also against the Legion of Boom, though, right?
Yeah, hey, but we should have won the game. We marched down the field and we should have won the game. And he could not punch it in.
Peyton Manning. They held Peyton Manning, who's coming off that's the year.
No, this was the divisional game. It wasn't the game they had the number 1 seed.
Oh, this was the year after?
Yeah, it was
okay.
2016.
Okay, year after.
The 15 season, 16 playoffs.
I think it's 14 now. It's 14. Anyways, but yeah.
I can remember because I was there. That was actually the last outdoor playoff game at TCF Bank Stadium with the Minnesota Vikings.
I was watching it, brother. I was at a bowling tournament that day. I remember I was watching it and missed it. I'm like,
when we pulled up, it was 4 below zero. It got to 0 degrees at half.
Nice.
So it was so the temperature wasn't even the worst part of it. So anyway, so Teddy Bridgewater, to answer your question, great game manager. He'd be a great backup on any team. I think he's a solid guy. He's a good. You know what you get with him.
Yeah.
He's a J.C. Penney outfit. You know what you're going to get. It's going to be a little baggy in some places, but it fits good enough to go to church that one Sunday a month. You know what I mean? Like he's not going to make you look. He's not going to make you look good enough to get the pretty girl. He's not going to make you look like you can't afford to buy your own outfit. He's somewhere in between there. So he's good enough to get you there. Tyler Thigpen, I think he was. I don't want to say he's like him because we haven't seen a lot from Heineke, but I want to say he was definitely a flash in the pan. He had moments where he had flashes of greatness, but when you put him in consistency, he reminds me of what's the guy's name in Washington now, who came out awesome with the Panthers year before last.
Kyle Allen.
Kyle Allen, looked really good for 5 games in a row. Then all of a sudden they found his weakness, and he looks very, very elementary. Very pedestrian behind center.
I like him a lot. Kyle Allen specifically, but
he's easily read now.
Tyler Thigpen?
He's easy to read. Yeah. So I would say
also Thigpen was the quarterback of the Chiefs during their worst years.
So the thing with me, I brought that up as a joke. It was not supposed to be
1-15, right, Jeremy?
But
1-15 that year.
Listen, I'm gonna throw it out. I'm gonna say Steve Bono. He's the best quarterback of those 4.
But we actually went 7. I think we actually went not 7. We went like 5-11, something like that. But he wasn't supposed to be the starter. But his first game was electrifying. He ran for like 60 yards or whatever, threw a touchdown to Dwayne Bowe. Obviously, Dwayne Bowe underlooked as a player, but his whole career was on the worst years of the Chiefs.
Please.
Huh? We were probably there whenever.
About Dwayne Bowe.
All right, the last one before we go, and Chris, you're actually going to step out for this one, but you can be third judge. Alex Smith or Kirk Cousins?
Alex Smith or Kirk? I think Kirk Cousins. You mean I don't think.
So
if you watch, Kirk Cousins is not a check down guy.
Yeah.
Like, for example, if Justin Jefferson was on Alex Smith's team any year Alex Smith played, he would not have led the league and broke the record for rookie receiving yards.
No.
That's not the way Alex Smith plays. Dalvin Cook would probably have 100 receptions on Alex Smith's team.
Yeah.
So if you put him in the same system, I don't think it's any conversation. I like Alex Smith a lot. I think he got a raw deal in San Francisco. But again, I think he's a winning quarterback, but he's probably an elevated level of Teddy Bridgewater. He's a game manager.
So the thing with me is whenever he went to Washington, he lost one game for them on whenever his leg was fully broken. Last year he lost one game with them. Started I think 7 games. So he's 6-1, and the rest of the game obviously they only won I think one without him. But the managing that he did caused the Chiefs to be the biggest opponent for the Patriots, the biggest opponent for the Broncos. So I think he's also who put us into the first in the division. Obviously, we didn't have running backs when he was the starter. I mean, Jamal Charles retired.
Oh, Jamal Charles played with him, did I thought Jamal Charles played
the
with
last
him.
the last 2 years he kept getting hurt, so he wasn't mainly there. So our target was we had a Kelsey, we had the minor Tyreek Hill at the end of the stunt at his best. So he's why Kelsey is good so short. He's why Tyreek can catch more than he should as being that fast. But I'm not saying that's why they're great. But with that being said, the way he manages games has put him in the top of his division. With Kirk Cousins, besides the Vikings, which is the last 3 years, he's been great. But yeah, if you put him in the same teams, I don't know.
Cousins.
I don't know. And if in comparison, I don't know if you put him in the same teams, because Dalvin Cook is not a receiver. He's good at receiving, but he's not a receiver. He's better with the ball in his hand. So, third judge.
I'm a little biased here because brother, I knows how I feel about Kirk Cousins.
But you hate the Chiefs though. That's kind of equal bias, right?
I know, but I like Alex Smith because I liked him in San Francisco because I love those San Francisco teams. Make me think of Papa because Papa had all of them. Frank Gore, Vernon Davis, Michael Crabtree. That team that was a decent team.
Colin Kaepernick mirrored what Alex Smith did. I mean, you look at Colin Kaepernick.
I mean, Alex Smith is really good at also teaching. You got to think about that. He's taught a lot of Mahomes. I mean, they didn't sit Mahomes for a whole year because Alex Smith was wasn't good. They did it because he had 23 touchdowns, 3 picks or something that year, something like that. Yeah. The year that before Mahomes started. So it's
he had an MVP caliber career, or not career, year then.
Yeah.
That year was MVP caliber.
I think
he went 13-3 and was benched. I mean, think about that. 11-3 and was benched.
I'm sure Cousins has better stats.
That was.
We're probably biased because we live in Kansas City too. We've seen the the growth of Alex Smith. I mean, as a humanitarian and and then coming off of injury the last couple of years before he retired. So I think I'd take Alex Smith, but that's probably because I don't like Kirk Cousins. So
it's also minimum because Kirk Cousins' window is just started. So
I think it's actually this is his last year in Minnesota if they don't win. I think they're going to redo not their whole roster, but some specific pieces if they don't win this year.
Yeah, and
is it last year, brother? Is it Kirk Cousins last year on the?
I think next year.
Next year. Yeah, next year.
Okay, well they might. I mean, it might be the. Who's their backup right now? It's
they got Kellen Mond.
Kellen Mond show.
He I think he went first. Not was he first round? No, he was
third round.
Third round.
Third? Okay.
Third round.
They got an offensive tackle in the first round, didn't they, brother?
Yeah, that's and that's the thing too. I think another thing, anytime whether you're talking about Alex Smith or Kirk Cousins or Tyler Thigpen, I think you can't really acknowledge too much without recognizing the level of offensive line play.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to go to another level to play that. But I'll just throw this out there that I've never seen in the 3 years that I've been watching Kirk in Minnesota. He's never had a good offensive line. He's had maybe one good lineman, but he's never had 2 or more solid Pro Bowl type linemen. Yeah. So I think that's what you got to take into effect of how good a guy is who isn't Lamar Jackson or a Patrick Mahomes that's able to move and create their own line, if you will, or space, if you will.
Yeah.
That, guys that are more traditional, like your Kirk Cousins, your Alex Smiths, that how they can flow with the decent offensive line.
Yeah, and that's one thing that stuck out.
And good coaching helps too. I think Minnesota has
I
a
agree.
really good coaching staff too, and that's the same with the Chiefs. The Chiefs had Andy Reid and whoever, so that helps a lot too. It doesn't make it make the quarterback good, but it helps a lot. So
that's one thing with Alex Smith in his last year as a Chief is he actually ran the ball most in his team. So that's one thing. You look at Kirk and the way he throws it deep. Alex Smith, ran the ball way more.
He did
so he was more of a running quarterback. He was more of like an option West Coast style quarterback.
Okay, I'm not giving.
Yeah,
I'm not giving
I was going to say that too.
Okay.
Like Alex Smith, his skill set is perfect for the West Coast offense, backs and tight ends.
Yeah.
Like Alex Smith. Alex Smith, I guess he had Kelsey. So I think that you look at Vernon Davis. He made those guys who they were because again his skill set fit perfect within that system.
Yeah. But all right, that was a good talk though. Matt Castle had no line. Funny story. Funny story. Everyone hated him at the end of his tenure. Obviously, it's not his fault. Todd Haley was not a head coach. He was a defensive coordinator. He'll never be a head coach again, obviously. This guy in front of us, my grandpa, my opa used to have season tickets, and a guy in front of us took out the C and the EL and kept his jersey. So it just said ASS on the back of it. So once we traded for Alex Smith, ASS was our last quarterback. But again, thank you for coming on. We're going to end this. It was awesome talking sports. We don't talk like this open about sports too much, and I'm glad we got to. So thank you for coming. You're always welcome. We love having guests.
Right on. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for the invitation.
Oh, yeah.
No problem, brother.
See you, everybody. Thank you.